So here's our very last example. In this example, we're going to use a tree diagram and probabilities to answer first, what's a high school athlete's chance of going pro? Second, what proportion of professional athletes? And the end of that is supposed to say um, played on the college level. Okay, so first, like high school athletes' chance of making it to the pros by one of two ways, and then the second one was what percent of like professional athletes came from playing in high school. Okay, so those are the two things that we're going to be looking at in this problem. Okay, so let's get some of these probabilities, draw our tree diagram, and then answer the question. We're starting off with only 5% of male high school basketball go on to play at the college level. Okay, so let's just start off with that. Okay, the very first thing that we have is a split between people who play in college and people who don't play in college. Okay, so like we did on Monday, a tree diagram just starts off, and with every split, you say what happens. Okay, so down here, we would have 5% play in college, and how many do not? 0.95 don't. No college. Okay, not that they don't go, but just that they don't play in college. Okay, and notice I wrote those percentages as proportions. Okay, of these, of the 5%, only 1.7% become professionals. Okay, so of these college people, this is going to be 0.017, 1.7% become pros. That's going to leave us with 0.983 that don't, not pro. Okay, so our tree diagram so far has a split between college and not college. Okay, 5% play in college, 95% don't. Of those 5% in college, 1.7. Okay, so take the 5%. Only 1.7 of those even make it to the pros. Okay, now if you look at the other one, that was of the people who don't of those who don't play in college, we have 0.01% go pro. Okay, so think about who is this like? Okay, people who don't play in college, go pro, and then actually make it. Okay, well, who goes pro without going to college? Right now, there's a couple of prime examples of this. So I'm thinking of Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kevin Garnett. They're the first three that come to my mind. I know there's a couple more. Okay, these are all people who went pro straight from high school, never went to college. Okay, but only 0.01% of them actually do that successfully. Okay, so let's look at our first question. What is a high school athlete's chance of going pro? Okay, well, you have two ways of going pro. You notice right here, this top part, you went pro, and then also the LeBron James, Kobe Bryant route, they went pro. Okay, so, but the question is, what's that chance? Well, I think you'll find that this is surprisingly, or sort of nice and easy, okay? It's really, what's the probability that they go to college and become pro? So we multiply those together. And then what's the probability they don't go to college and become pro? Okay, so the probability is just going to be equal to this, and I'll write out the calculation, but won't actually work it out. You can plug it into the calculator yourself. Okay, so that's 0.05 times 0.017. Okay, so that's the top one. Okay, a 5% chance of playing in college, 1.7% chance of going pro from there, and then add that to your second branch, where you have 95% not going and playing in college times 0.01%. 0.01% is going pro, straight from high school. Multiply those two together. And you should get, I'm double checking it myself, 0.000945 is what I got. Hopefully you got something similar to that. Okay, and so that's your chance of going pro if you're a high school athlete. Okay, the second question, what percent of professional athletes played in college? Okay, what percent played in college? Well, we are looking at a slightly different pool. So I think it's easiest, again, just to use this tree diagram to look at this. Okay, so first thing you have to think about is who's considered a success divided by what's the total number. Okay, well, the success in this case, I think, is the proportion who played in college and then went pro. Okay, so 0.017 played in college and then went pro. Okay, so if you played in college, take 1.7% and they went pro. Okay, on the bottom is what's our total that we're getting this out of. Okay, well, we have these people who went pro after college. They're our big winners. And this bottom part is those who did not. Okay, they didn't go to college, still became pro. Okay, so the total number that we're getting this out of is that 0.017 from the top. Okay, and then plus that 0.0001 from the bottom. Okay, now with each one of these, maybe you picked up on this, but we forgot to add in that part about our branches, right? So the 5% who played in college, that gets added in here. Okay, also to the bottom for where we had the 5% who played in college, 0.05. I have an extra 1 up top, sorry about that. Okay, so up top so far, I have that 1.7% of the college people. And then on the bottom, I'm trying to find out that total overall. Okay, so for each tree branch, I have to multiply all the way down. This 0.01% was from the 95% who did not go pro or who did not play in college. Okay, so let's think what we have. That top part those are people who went to college and played, and then went pro afterwards. Okay, so 1.7% times 5%. Okay, that's who we're actually interested in. Okay, professional athletes who played in college. Okay, then we have to just divide it by the total number of professional athletes. Okay, so those would be those who played in college, which is the same as the top. And then in addition to that, those who did not play in college. Okay, so divide all of that out. Be very careful. Group the top. Well, group the top, but very specifically, actually, you need to group the bottom all together. Okay, make sure they do that addition before the division. Okay, so you type it in yourself. I'm also going to type it in here. Okay, and this time, assuming my numbers are correct, I got just about 90%. Okay, I have a practice worksheet for you to work on for the rest of class, and then the homework assignment will be, let me go ahead and paste it in here. Okay, so chapter 6, numbers 28, 30, 48, 50, 54, and 61. Miss Welsh should have a copy of that so she can tell that to you again in case the video ends. Again, please try to get all the homework done that you can before I come back on Thursday. The more you have done, the more helpful it will be on Thursday. For now, plan on the test being on Friday. Okay, I'm not saying it's not going to get moved from Friday, but plan on it being on Friday, and then there's a small chance it'll get moved to Monday. Okay, so plan on it being on Friday. Good luck. Please, please, please email me with homework questions. Okay, if some are just really hard, let me know. That'll help me prepare on Wednesday night, which is tonight, I guess. That'll help me prepare for class on Thursday, so we can really get a lot done. Okay, so I appreciate your patience this week, and good luck with this.